had a very extensive discussion on the security of all parts of Nigeria and how we should go about improving the situation.
President Buhari engages Senate President on security just as Governor of Niger State gives timeline on release of abducted Kagara school boys.
The extension meant for agencies to continue to utilize the funds that has already been released to them.
2020 budget implementation will rise to 100% at the end of March 2021, Finance Minister assures National Assembly. United Nations Deputy Secretary General lists unity and tolerance as recipe for a great Nigeria. Also tonight, villagers where Nigerian Air Force plane crashed relieve experiences.
We must appreciate the pilot who was able to manage the aircraft to this point.
Hello and welcome to NTA Network News, reaching you live from Abuja. I am Kenan Ima Abudike. Reading with me tonight is Michael Olaleye in Lagos studio. Senate President Ahmed Lawan is reassuring Nigerians that the Buhari administration is genuinely committed towards dismantling obstacles to national security and stability for a peaceful and prosperous Nigeria, maintaining that the prevailing situation will not be the same in the coming weeks and months. The Senate President said this while speaking to journalists after a closed-door engagement with President Muhammadu Buhari on the state of the nation. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
The meeting between President Muhammadu Buhari and the Senate President Ahmed Lawan lasted more than 1 hour behind closed doors. The worrisome security situation in parts of the country and the best way forward dominated discussions as explained by the Senate President.
We had a very extensive discussion on the security of all parts of Nigeria and how we should go about improving the situation. We all have roles to play. I believe that between now and probably the next 2 months, there will be a lot of activities to ensure that we recover and secure our environments for our people to lead a very normal life. As political leaders, we have responsibilities to our people, and we cannot shy away from that. We would like to see our farmers go back to farms before the rainy season starts, and this means we have to secure the rural parts of Nigeria as well as the urban centers because we need businesses to flourish.
President Buhari and the Senate President also touched on the unguarded utterances and the hate campaign now being given prominence by some Nigerians, describing it as unfortunate and counterproductive.
The Nigerian citizen believes in Nigeria so strongly, and that is why you will find an Igbo man, a Southeasterner, in the remotest part of northern Nigeria. That's why you will find a Hausa man in far away southwest or southeast or south-south and probably even Mari from those areas. We have this Nigerianness in our citizens. As political leaders, we are supposed to ensure that we support this kind of feeling by giving everybody a protection. If a Yoruba man, a Southwesterner, decides to live in far away Sokoto, he should be protected. If a Hausa man decides to live in far away Boni or Port Harcourt, he should be protected, and so on and so forth, because this is how we will be able to use our diversity to weave it into a capacity to make Nigeria a big and successful nation.
The meeting also resolved to ensuring that the ongoing forensic audit of the NDDC is completed and those found wanting are brought to justice for sabotaging efforts at developing the Niger Delta region.
Given the resources that were deployed into the NDDC, NDDC should have transformed the Niger Delta into a better environment than what it has been. So we need to sanitize the NDDC and get the resources fully deployed in developing the area in the Niger Delta.
The National Assembly, he said, is prepared to support efforts at sanitizing Nigeria and placing her on the path to sustainable future. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has assured members of the society who suffer any form of disability that the federal government is determined to carry them along in all its programs and policies as citizens with rights. The minister stated this during a virtual meeting with some members in Abuja. Anthony Forson reports.
As a demonstration of the seriousness government attaches to the well-being of this segment of the society, the Information and Culture Minister said he will with immediate effect through the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission direct that all television stations across the country introduce interpreters in sign language in their transmissions.
I can assure you, a directive will go out to all television stations that they must henceforth have a sign language interpreter during all their programs and during all their news programs.
The minister pointed out that people with disability whose population is put at over 31 million cannot be overlooked.
Whatever is being administered, that 45% should be go to female and 10% should go to people living with disability. Either 5 or 10%. So you can see that even in the survival fund, we have made provision. So I think you need also to look at the various programs of government in the areas of poverty alleviation, in the area of survival fund, especially in our economic sustainability plan, because I know provisions have been made to ensure that people living with disability also partake.
Earlier, the Director for Citizens with Disability, David Obina Anyeli, expressed their gratitude to President Muhammadu Buhari, who kept his campaign promise in introducing policies and programs that are friendly to people with disability since assuming office. He was particular about employing 5% of his members into the nation's public workforce. He equally appealed to the minister to advocate for active involvement of his members in the media industry. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, is optimistic that by the end of March 31st, 2021, the implementation of the extended capital component of the 2020 budget, which stands at 30% at the moment, will be 100%. The minister was speaking at a meeting with leadership of the National Assembly on the extended capital component of the 2020 budget. Ignatius Nkwo reports.
One of the interventions made by the National Assembly on the 2020 revised budget is the approval of 3 months extension for capital implementation from 1st January to 31st of March 2021. Few weeks to the end of the extension, leadership of the National Assembly invited the Minister of Finance for feedback on the implementation so far.
The extension meant for agencies to continue to utilize the funds that has already been released to them. And we have made an assessment, and as at the 1st week of February, I'm afraid to report that the performance utilization of the extended amount was averaging about 30%.
Let me commend the minister and her team for the level of implementation throughout last year. It was pretty high, perhaps the highest we've seen in a long time.
The minister noted that as at the end of 2020, the federal government had released 1.74 trillion naira for capital expenditure, out of which 118 billion was for COVID-19.
Since then, there has been more releases for COVID-19 expenditure, and we can provide an update on that.
That today our economy has shown significant improvement and we are technically out of recession. Our economy has grown the GDP by over 0.1%, and that is remarkable. That this is the dividend of the National Assembly passing the budget before the end of the year.
Meanwhile, the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions has sought warrant of arrest on the management of the Niger Delta Development Commission for not appearing before the committee's investigative hearing on alleged misappropriation of 6.25 billion naira COVID-19 palliative for the Niger Delta region. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Nigeria is a great nation with much to achieve and more lands to conquer if only the message of unity, tolerance and strength in diversity is continuously preached and embraced by all. This is the message brought home by the Deputy Secretary General of United Nations, Amina Mohammed, during a visit and interface with women at the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs. Mamso Damian Dati reports.
A convergence of women from different groups and civil society organizations across Abuja, here to interact with one of their own, now an international figure. There are critical issues on the table waiting to be ironed out, ranging from gender-based violence to national unity and so much more.
So we are working closely with wives of governors, with the president's wife, and state commissioners and local government social welfare officers, because the main issue is to intensify advocacy.
And I know that what we hear and we see is legitimate concerns around security, around gender-based violence, all the challenges a developing nation will have. But I want us to remember that the glass is some full, and we need to celebrate what is successful about Nigeria. There is so much that we have, and there's so much more that we can have. So let's recognize what we have achieved, and then push for the rest that needs to happen, which is urgent, which is serious, and which needs to be addressed now.
And finally, special prayers for the families of the victims of the military aircraft crash. In Abuja, Momso Damian Dati, NTA News.
In the meantime, Nigeria is seeking broader opportunities from the World Bank and other United organizations in the area of policy and digital training for teaming Nigerian youths and women. This was when the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy received the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, in Abuja. ICT correspondent Joseph Johnson reports.
Described as a sister's visit to a brother, the presence of the United Nations Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed is seen as an endorsement of the trajectory and relevance of the information and communications technology ICT sector in growing the nation's economy. She acknowledged the impact of the national digital economy policy and placed the support of the global body to the country's digital economy sector.
The digital economy is very important, and we continue, as you say, speaking and engaging constructively, so that we can, ensure that success is what we are all going to be looking at the end of the day.
The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Isa Ali Pantami, was quick to point out the recent figures by the National Bureau of Statistics, where the national economy sector topped a 14.7% growth within the fourth quarter of 2020.
Within the period of lockdown, in the two virtual institutions we commissioned or we developed online, more than 200,000 citizens enrolled and completed their programs, and still the training is ongoing. And this is another area which we feel we need to be supported by the United Nations in any way possible.
Both were in agreement that the state of the economy in the future will be determined by today's investments. Joseph Johnson, NTA News.
Nigerian Stock Exchange continues losing streak as federal government reiterates plans to boost non-oil exports. Let's join Musa Abubakar for details on business news. Musa, you're on.
Thank you, Kene. The federal government has reiterated its plan to generate $30 billion within the next 10 years from non-oil exports to diversify the economy. Executive Director of Nigeria Export Promotion Council, Segun Awolowo, stated this at a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari, while assuring that Nigeria can get $30 billion in terms of non-oil export, as projected despite the negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy. Awolowo said with a positive gross domestic product growth in last quarter of 2020, supported by agriculture and services, the Zero Oil Plan has received enormous support and has been integrated in the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. adding that the National Economic Council has set up a national committee on exports to drive it. That trading on the floor of Nigerian Stock Exchange closed on a negative territory. The All Share Index fell 0.08% at 40,154.09 basis point. A market capitalization at 21 trillion naira to close the day's session. 289.3 million shares valued at 3.5 billion naira were traded in 4,953 deals at the end of the day's transaction. FBN Holding PLC, United Capital PLC and Guarantee Trust Bank were the most active shares. Well, that's business news. It's back to you, Kenneth.
Thank you indeed, Musa. Welcome back. Niger State Governor Abubakar Sani Bello reassures on the safe release of Kagara Science School students latest by Tuesday as the NTA abduction victims open up on their experiences in the hands of their abductors. Hamisu Reger has the situation report from Mina.
This afternoon, when the Niger State Governor met with the members of the National Assembly from Niger State, he said that they expect the good news of the receipt of those school children that have been kidnapped from Kagara. But then I obviously have the company of the Secretary to the State Government, Elijah Ahmed Matani.
We are still dialoguing, we are still reaching out, we are taking every available strategy to do with the matter. In no time, we might also get the release of, these school children.
Okay, the governor obviously raised certain issues in his meeting with the National Assembly members from the Niger State.
You know the size of Niger State. Niger State is about 10% of Nigeria's land mass. It is really huge, and it's also dotted with so many forests. And the bandits and other criminals find, the forest as sanctuary, for their criminal activities. Now, because a large portion of these forests are unpoliced, unsecured, so the communities in those areas are left, on their own. And until, something happens, then we respond. And that is not really sustainable. We believe that, if we deploy technology, that can actually help, the manpower that is on the ground.
But the victims of that NSTA abductions cannot even recount their experiences.
I'm very, very happy. I'm excited. We thank God. We thank our beloved ones for their prayers. They wanted to kill us. No food, no water. We were trekking. We trekked for almost 2 days, trekking inside the bush. They beat the men seriously.
From the day we entered there up to yesterday we came back, we have been beaten. We only thank God. Even on Saturday, they are trying to condemn us. They are trying to condemn us to kill us, all of us.
They have camps. Their camps. There are more than 44 camps. The group that arrested us are different with others. Understand? So there are about 30 of them with machines and rifles.
So do you sleep?
We sleep, but in bare ground, without any cover, without anything.
You and the women?
All of those. All of us.
And the children?
Even the children.
In the meantime, the popular saying that everything that has a beginning must surely have an end was the exact words of encouragement by the father of the deceased students of the Government Science College, Kagara, Ayuba Dan Asabe Bauer, as he appealed to other parents who have been allegedly withdrawing their wards from schools due to the activities of bandits. Mokhtar Abubakar Wawa reports that Ayuba Bauer gave the inspiring words while receiving the officials of the Niger State government who visited him.
Bawa Habila was the only student of the Government Science College Kagara who lost his life during the Wednesday's school abduction. The meeting between the parents of the deceased student and some of the officials of the Niger State government took place at the Divisional Police Headquarters Kagara. The State Commissioner for Education, Hannatu Jibrin Saliu, who condoled and presented an undisclosed amount of money to the deceased parents, noted that though no amount of money can equate life, says the gesture is to identify with the family.
We call him a hero because he died in the course of this battle. He was the one who actually raised the alarm for other students to be aware of the incidents in the school.
The deceased father, Ayubadan Asebebawa, thanked the Niger State government for the show of concern.
This thing has come and it must surely go. Anything that has the beginning must surely has an end.
The delegation also visited the college where the killing and abduction took place. In Kagara, Mukhtar Abubakaru, NTA News.
Now, the ongoing government efforts towards ridding the country of criminal elements must be supported by all Nigerians, irrespective of political parties, religion and ethnic affiliation. This was the resolution reached following an interaction in Abuja between the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party and the Governor of Zamfara State, Bello Muhammad. Timothy Yusuf reports.
He believed that the spate of crimes and criminality across some parts of the country and the latest Kagara students and staff abduction in Niger State is one incident too many. The leadership of the PDP is of the view that the security agencies must be supported by all in their efforts towards curbing the menace.
Let us work together so that we can move this country forward. We should forget about political differences because the issue of security, these criminals doesn't differentiate between ABGA, PDP, APC or any political party.
Issues of security and food, parties are not involved. It can be anybody.
Meanwhile, the presidential candidate of the People's Trust in the 2019 general elections, Benga Olawepo Hashim, believes that it is urgent for Nigerians to tone down divisive actions in the land, warning that they are capable of pitching one ethnic group against the other and pushing for attacks and reprisal attacks are all ill wind that can only assure mutual destruction.
In the interim, we must all know as Nigerians that we are better together as a country, and that we should tone down rhetorics that are capable of inciting one ethnic group against another.
He also identified the traditional leaders as important stakeholders of the Nigerian project. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
After the unfortunate crash of the North Beechcraft, correspondent Abdullahi Ajia visited the scene and spoke with some eyewitnesses.
For a community that is located very close to the airport like Basenjua, the sound of an aircraft either taking off or landing is part of their daily life. But the Sunday incident is one that got the community terrified and the nation in shock.
Everybody was full of fear on how the aircraft was somehow tumbling on the air. Everybody was just shouting the aircraft will not land in the village because many souls will be gone.
We must appreciate the pilot who was able to manage the aircraft to this point. As he was coming, the young men that were walking discovered the plane and they ran away. The man tried to escape and then crashed in this very particular place where we are standing.
So took off from the church to come and see what is happening before getting to the very place that the incident occurred. We discovered that the plane has already landed. Immediately
the residents who are also curious about the investigation as to what was the cause of the crash said they have not put behind the shock of what they witnessed, being hopeful that such will not occur again.
The residents of Basenjua community are beginning to pick from the shock of yesterday and life going back to normal. Abdullahi Ajia, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed appreciation to his outgoing aide-de-camp, Colonel Mohammed Lawal Abubakar, for discharging his responsibilities professionally and with high sense of patriotism. This was while receiving Colonel Abubakar and members of his family on a farewell visit. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
Colonel Muhammad Lawal Abubakar, who has been the aide-de-camp to President Muhammadu Buhari since coming to power in 2015, is proceeding on a professional course to Santiago, Chile. The course is a prerequisite for his promotion to the rank of a brigadier general in the Nigerian army. He is here alongside his family members to say thank you to the Nigerian leader for not only the trust and confidence reposed in him, but also the support and guidance during his tour of duty.
It's a rare privilege, and I thank Allah and cherish each moment I spent with you. You always emphasize we should do the right thing. As a country, Nigeria, we're lucky to have you as our president. I'm not saying this because I work with you, but your character, the way you have lived your life over the years is a testimony of this fact that I've asserted. So thank you very much once again. I wish you well. Inshallah, you will propel Nigeria to higher greatness.
I certainly respect your professionalism. You are lucky to have been an AGC at the highest level, because we have seen a lot, we have met a lot of people, and I hope the experience we have gathered, as you mentioned, you will be able to utilize it when you come back. All I can say is that I wish you the best of luck.
Having served for almost 6 years without blemish, Colonel Lawal Abubakar is one of the most successful and longest-serving ADCs to civilian presidents in the history of the country. Apart from his promotion to the next rank, the 48-year-old military officer is on completion of his course expected to be posted outside the shores of Nigeria as a defense attaché. In the meantime, the new ADC to President Muhammadu Buhari, Lieutenant Colonel Yusuf Mukhtar Dodo, has formally assumed duties. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Now, the Nigerian Army says it does not condone any act of indiscipline or violation of professional conduct. This is contained in a statement by the Director, Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Mohammed Yarima, to refute a trending video allegedly depicting some personnel of the Nigerian Army extorting money from motorists in Edo. Brigadier General Mohammed Yarima notes that after critical analysis, it was discovered the video is fake and orchestrated by mischief makers to tarnish the image of the military. General Yarima, while urging the public to disregard the video, assures that the Nigerian Army is a professional force that operates in accordance with the rules of engagement and its constitutional mandate. The Northeast Development Commission is to establish and equip 10 vocational training centers in Borno State following approval granted by the federal government. This was during a flag-off of rapid response intervention in Borno. Mohammed Goni reports.
Northeast Development Commission Rapid Response Intervention is a multi-sectoral and multidimensional infrastructure rehabilitation and construction program with a resolve to implement an average of 2 projects in each of the 112 local government areas of the Northeast. The Rapid Response Intervention placard featured inauguration and presentation of 40,000 two-seater school furniture to the Borno State government and the graduation of 166 ICT trainees, as well as presentation of starter packs and 20,000 naira to each of them. Others include presentation of 50,000 exercise books to public school, as well as 20,000 books to private school, 10,000 pieces of face mask to public school, 5,000 to private school security operatives, as well as road transport union workers, while SEMA was given 15,000 blankets for IDPs. Farmers were also presented with palm inputs to equip them for the next farming season. Governor Bagana Umara, who described the placard of the RRI as the single largest intervention made, saying it was demand-driven.
We prioritize our request mainly on 3 main critical infrastructures.
In order to ensure that the projects were demand-driven, the Commission requested state governments to nominate projects for each of the local government areas for infrastructure and related sectors.
In Maiduguri, Mahmoud Goni, NTA News.
Michael joins us from Lagos with the next set of reports. Hello, Michael.
The Department of Petroleum Resources has officially flagged off a search, rescue and surveillance program, one of its national oil and gas excellence center recently inaugurated by President Muhammadu Buhari. This initiative is in collaboration with Omino Blue Aviation Services Limited. Imolia Yotokede Ogunfowora has details.
I hereby flag up search, rescue and surveillance program for the Nigerian oil and gas industry across the value chain.
These two helicopters, 5NBWH and 5NBQG, have been fully equipped with ventilators and other medical equipment to safely transport patients with infectious diseases from one point to another, as well as support the day-to-day oil and gas activities. Director, Department of Petroleum Resources, Sarki Awalu, stated that the center will not only ensure safe working environment for employees, but enhance cost efficiency and value addition for stakeholders.
Whether you are working for exploration and production, or you are transporting, or you are marketing, or you are refining, this program is for you.
The event attracted other regulators and government agencies.
Being an offshore company, things can happen out there, and all we depend on is one of those things to be able to respond to us if we have an emergency.
The director and his team also visited a facility in Ilashe community, which has been dormant since 2015, to assess how the agency can fully optimize it to further grow the Nigerian oil and gas industry.
We've seen opportunity that we can support our gas penetration, gas expansion program. We need to make it work.
It is expected that when the facility is revived, it will provide job opportunities, initiate development, and steady growth of the country's gross domestic products. In Lagos, Imolia Yotokede Ogunfowora, NTA News.
In furtherance of its commitment to stimulate growth and development of satellite settlements, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has commissioned a network of roads, including a flyover along the boundary between Lagos and Ogun States. Musa Toliat reports.
Lagos-Ogun State boundary roads are located in Agbado-Okeodo Local Council Development Area of the state. This network of roads have a total length of 6,264 meters and 120-meter bridge. The project, Babajide Sanwo-Olu says, is born out of commitments to complete projects inherited from the previous administration.
Without doubt, these roads will enhance connectivity, it will shorten distance, it will improve the travel time, it will reduce the loss that we have on traffic, and it will reduce the stress of commuting from one state to another. And we're happy that we've been able to put this model infrastructure in place for our people.
The road is a dual carriageway with reinforced concrete drains, covered slabs, and walkway. In Lagos, Musa Toliat, NTA News.
This is NTA Network News. More reports with Kenne shortly after this break.
Welcome back. Let's now talk health. Nigeria will soon receive a first batch of 4 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccines to inoculate the population against COVID-19. PTF Chairman and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, who announced this at Monday's briefing, appealed to Nigerians not to procure uncertified vaccines from the black market. Kenneth Nanim reports.
The issue of vaccines against COVID-19 continue to dominate discussions, as well as major policy and financial decisions by countries of the world. Already, NAFDAC has granted emergency use authorization for the AstraZeneca vaccines in Nigeria, and the PTF is intensifying efforts to acquire it.
Vaccines remain critical in the battle, but we must remain well informed. The multi-sectoral machinery will be deployed to enhance the logistics to the last mile administration processes that have been put in place.
When the vaccine arrives in the country, NAFDAC will still take samples for assessment before we commence COVID-19 vaccination. We have prioritized our frontline health workers who manage COVID-19 cases.
Based on COVID-19 household seroprevalence survey carried out in 4 states of Lagos, Enugu, Nasarawa, and Gombe, the DG NCDC says significant proportion of Nigerians are still at risk of contracting COVID-19. Therefore, enforcement of strict adherence to safety protocols will prevail in full measures.
The update so far is that we've had 54 cases of the B117 variant, the variant of concern first detected in the UK, which is now the dominant strain. In fact, almost 100% of circulating strains. So that's a significant number out of those we've sequenced. We've sequenced about 400 now altogether since the beginning of the outbreak.
We are intensifying the monitoring of treatment of COVID-19 positive cases, especially those that can self-isolate, by strengthening and improving the capacity of personnel to manage home-based care.
The PTF also believes that the health sector across the country has recorded some development within 1 year of the emergence of coronavirus pandemic. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
Effective partnership with frontline donors and adequate funding by governments remain key factors to developing a pharmaceutical product for the treatment and management of COVID-19 and other infectious diseases. These were recommendations made by members House Ad Hoc Committee on COVID-19 during a review and assessment visit to the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development. Elizabeth Omori has details of the visit.
Since the emergence of COVID-19 in Nigeria last February, research and development agencies like the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development have been working to enhance the development and commercialization of pharmaceutical raw materials to aid healthcare. Early last year, the Institute promoted the indigenous manufacturing of hand sanitizers from locally sourced materials and part of randomized control trials to scientifically prove the efficacy of a number of conventional medicines.
I want you people to catch this idea and run with it. Your organization, NAIMA, NASDAQ, if you gang up and you are all on the same page and you approach the private sector and you come up with very excellent proposals, I am assuring you they will fund you, including partners that are outside.
Lack of interest from relevant research agencies and insufficient budget for research were some of the challenges raised.
Provided some additional funding for the agency, which has gone into the procurement of equipment. That process is still ongoing, and at the end of that process, we'll provide the feedback on that.
Members of the committee are optimistic that the Institute will lead Africa to greater heights in the global health community. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
The National Institute for Hospitality and Tourism under the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture is being repositioned to fit into the post-COVID-19 culture, tourism and hospitality sector of the nation's economy. Director General of NIHOTOUR, Nura Sani, stated this while addressing his management staff. Nura Sani said with the primary objective to engender a culture of excellence in the tourism sector as key players, the need to have a manpower that can fit into the new normal is paramount.
The government, both state and federal, needs such evidence-based report to make appropriate socio-economic policies, while the private sector needs it to make informed investment decisions in the hospitality and tourism sector. Inevitably, we will also be working with other specialist agencies here in Nigeria and at international level to mainstream NIHOTOUR's drive to be in the foremost tourism development enabler in Nigeria.
The Director General maintains that it is time to close ranks in the interest of the industry. Now, as tricycle operators in Kano embark on a warning strike to press their demand for suspension of 100 naira daily tax imposed by the state government, commuters were caught unawares with many forced to walk miles to their various destinations. Mohammed Rabiu Ali has the situation report.
Imagine Kano without tricycle operators for hours, and what will be for inhabitants who are mainly public servants and traders. Kano, a metropolitan city alone, has an estimate of more than 10 million residents. Majority of them now left stranded as a result of the strike embarked by tricycle operators, the commonest transport system. Major streets in Kano usually characterized with beehive of activities now deserted, with passengers and commuters without choice but to walk. Others use other means to reach their destinations.
It's so difficult to us to go to school and back.
Unfortunate. Yes, it's unfortunate because we don't like it. And we hope government will do something about it.
The leadership of Tricycle Association, however, exempted itself from the striking members.
You should adhere to our directives before you embark on any action.
It is a law. Schedule 2, item number 9, congestion charges of Kano State Revenue Administration with the amendment in 2017 that provides for 100 naira daily ticket for this tricycle.
While government is assuring provision of other means of transportation, appeals to people of the state to support government policies and programs. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
United Nations Environment Assembly UNEA 5th session has opened virtually to provide leadership, catalyze intergovernmental actions on the environment, and contribute to the implementation of the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and 8 Sustainable Development Goals. Theme of UNEA 5 is strengthening actions for nature to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Onengia Fiveface reports.
The Nations Environment Assembly provides an opportunity for member states and stakeholders to take ambitious steps in combating climate change by ensuring that investments in economic recovery after the COVID-19 pandemic contributes to a better and greener environment.
We can recover better from COVID-19. We can turn this tragedy into an opportunity to pursue a world that is more resilient, more equitable, and more sustainable.
We need to prevent ecosystem collapse that will undermine food and water security around the world. But as I said, we are in a state of crisis. The oceans are filling with plastic and becoming more acidic.
UNEA 5 provides a platform for sharing and implementing successful approaches that contribute to the achievement of the environmental dimension of the 2030 Agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals, including the goals related to the eradication of poverty and sustainable patterns of consumption and production.
Commit to turning 2021 into the year in which we began making peace with nature. That means backing a green recovery from the pandemic.
The virtual session continues with launch of the Global Alliance on Circular Economy and Resource Efficiency, as well as a leadership dialogue with the aim of promoting high-level discussion on the contributions needed to build a resilient and inclusive post-pandemic world. On NTA Fine Face, NTA News.